Tonight's Xfinity TV High School Football Game of the Week post-game show brought to you by the Pittsburgh Sports Report, Pittsburgh's premier sports publication. Visit them on the web, pittsburghsportsreport.com. Ellis Cannon and Tim Benz with you, wrapping up this final score of 23-6. Penn Trafford, its first loss of the year here at Gateway. And from the first drive on, effective offense for the Gateway Gators. They did what they needed to do on defense, which was get run on just enough, but take away everything in the pass game. They were very effective at doing that, Ellis, and it felt like the team that was undefeated was on the other sideline tonight.
Yeah, they came in, Gateway did, with a 19-point average against, but I thought they were playing much better football than that tonight. And, of course, it was one-dimensional in terms of the offensive output, if you will, with Penn Trafford. I believe ultimately they're only 12 yards passing, something we talked about. Clearly the pass game needs to improve for them to not be one-dimensional. Ultimately, there were 218 yards thrown by Walker, who really shined tonight, both running and passing the ball. And I think you're right, that athleticism really counted for Gateway. We mentioned at the very beginning of the show, and that's what happened.
Let's go down to the field right now to Meg Bolger. She's standing by with Don Hall, the head coach for the Gateway Gators.
All right, thanks, Tim. Coach, you hear the victory bell going off. Student section rushed the field. You knock off 5-0 Penn Trafford. How does it feel?
You know what? I think all the things you just said say it all. You know, Gateway's got such a great tradition, and I was so excited to have a chance to be part of it. You know, there aren't great jobs like this out there, and these nights are what it's all about. These kids work so hard. These students support them like crazy. Got a great band, a great cheer team, all that stuff. And when they get to celebrate in our home stadium, it doesn't get any better than this.
Coach, it seemed Penn Trafford could not get into rhythm all night. You guys were very disruptive. What was the biggest difference in the game?
You know, I think our kids played really hard on defense, and we got some kids that can run to the ball. And I thought, you know, they're pretty sturdy and they're pretty good at knocking off the ball. But our guys kept saying the next play, and I thought we were very determined, and it showed in the way we ran to the ball and made plays.
All right, Coach, I took you away from that big celebration. Go ahead and enjoy it.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Tim?
All right, thanks a lot, Meg. And you could see the emotion for Don Hall and almost the sense of relief, because you could tell when we spoke with him this week. I know I could, Ellis, when I had my phone conversation. He was confident, but at the same time, he knew what he was going up against. He knew the positive attributes that Penn Trafford brought to every game. And I think he had faith in his kids, but wasn't quite sure how I was going to go tonight. But from the early moments on, I think the better team won this evening.
Yeah, I agree with him as well about the defense. The defense, he says, runs the ball. We sort of echoed that all night, both of us, and that clearly was a strength. And you had a lot of force with Penn Trafford, but it just wasn't coming together consistently enough, and give a lot of credit for getting blown up at times by the defense, strategically, scheme-wise, and certainly with execution and playing to their strength.
I believe we have Meg again down on the field here at Gateway, and Brady Walker, the quarterback, is standing by with her.
All right, thank you, guys. Brady, the victory bell's going off. It's been a tradition since 1924. How's it feel? You guys are going to have it back here.
It's incredible. I never had the bell. I was young growing up watching PT versus Gateway. It's a great rivalry game, and I'm just happy we came out and beat them. It's a big game. They're the #1 team in our conference, and we just beat them. It was pretty exciting.
You said your voice was a little scratchy, and I saw the sidelines all night. You guys were very emotional. You guys were pretty hyped up for this game, it seemed like.
Yeah, during practice, we had to get hyped up for this game. We knew it was a big game coming in. And then on the sideline, we just tried getting everyone hyped up, and we did. And so was the student section.
All right, go enjoy it. Congratulations, Brady.
Thank you very much.
Guys?
I think Brady needs to thank his backup quarterback, Majaka, for coming in for 2 plays and getting absolutely smoked on one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he almost disappeared into the turf, but he reemerged, and ultimately he was able to make that pitch. I mean, at the last second. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he came in. He's a sophomore, but yeah, it was Walker's night. You take a look at the numbers. We just saw them moments ago, and they speak for themselves. But I liked his leadership as well. You know, we talked almost kiddingly during the game that Coach talks about him being a distributor, and he has playmakers, and he does distribute it, but he's more than just a manager. He definitely make plays in his own. 39 yards rushing, more importantly 9. And so I think when you run 9 times and you run some tough plays and tough yards and take some big hits, that means a lot to everybody else involved in it, and very, very well deserved.
Let's go to our best of the batch play of the game. The best of the night goes to Jaquan Brisker. Another punt return for a touchdown, and we love the fact that the offensive lineman took over the punt duties midway through the game. Logan Hawkins had a nice spiral spinning up in the air, but I thought you made a great point, Ellis. Maybe they weren't used to covering punts that deep because he had the two best of the night, and you could certainly tell the coverage was not used to seeing something like this in Brisker.
And you also don't see a big lineman like Logan Hawkins, who's one of the best players on the field, get blocked like he just did right there. Remember, he had really just come off a series where he was on the field and offensively, and had to run the ball, run down the field to make the tackle.
And got hurt, got hurt previously.
That's right, and that was the last block in effect that set him loose. And again, you take a look at what the coaches tell you, and making plays, winning explosive plays battle was what Don Hall told us was something had to be done. And winning the turnover battle, they did 3-2 margin, but they'll take that. And I think some real critical ones that hollowed out the pass game to the extent that there would have been any confidence. There were some balls that were hung up, and there was also some very, very good defensive back play to get in front of the defenders there. On the flip side of it, you take a look at Penn Trafford, and some things that they wanted to get eliminated did not happen, and that was eliminating big returns. They wanted to play keep away. Effectively, that wasn't good enough. Particularly in the first half.
Let's see a little bit more from Brady Walker, the quarterback for the Gateway Gators, and we should also point out the support he got from his offensive line. You see time there, setting up brilliantly the way that play was supposed to be spaced out for a touchdown to Courtney Jackson for the first score of the game, and then Walker doing it with his legs and his arm. And you know what? The offensive line is supposed to be a question mark if they were going to be able to win in the trenches, but I thought they did fine in the trenches, if not win the battle, Ellis.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we just saw that. That was a great replay right there where you saw the receiver take advantage of not one, but two downfield blocks by wide receivers, including by Jackson. And that's something that's just so important. And frankly, it happened on the first touchdown as well when Jackson scored. And, you know, it was the Gateway, Harvey Hicks, who was downfield blocking and got in the way and helped block on that first one as well.
Inconsistent for both teams tonight, trying to get the screens set up.
Yeah,
we commented on that earlier in the game.
Absolutely, but I really felt that in those plays that were successful, clearly they were not long plays, but you got the ball in the hands of guys who do make plays, and very, very, very good downfield blocking. I'm sure they'll be cheering in the room when they look at that this week.
Well, there's a lot to cheer for Gateway. That's for sure, handing Penn Trafford its first loss of the season, and LSU pointed out that the schedule is something that Penn Trafford now has to overcome if they want to get back on the winning track.
Franklin Regional at home, and you know they're not used to having streaks at all. As a matter of fact, in terms of losing, as we pointed out, they had a 25-game win streak in the regular season. Of course, they lost last year in the WPIL 4A final, but you know it's a different time, and they're going to reload. I mean, there's always that talk about whether you got to rebuild. I don't think they're in a rebuild, but they're in a reload, and you're going to see a lot of players that played last year continue to play, get experience this year, and hopefully for their long-term future be able to continue to develop, because they develop kids up there. We know that.
Final thoughts? I mean, I'll give one. I think that Coach Hall needs to come up with a new word for Brady Walker aside from distributor.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fair comment.
That's my final thought. You got one?
No, actually, I agree with you. I thought Gateway's defense to me was the difference. Gateway's defense to me flew off the page to me, and we talked about that early on several times. They just came and they're not all that big.
Oh, nothing in the back 30. Nothing for them to throw deep on.
Oh, no. And absolutely. And those linebackers, man, they go left and right. They go sideline to sideline. They could attack. And, it was a very impressive performance, I think, by the defense as much as anything else for Gateway.
That'll do it for us. It's 23-6, your final score. Gateway beats Penn Trafford this evening. They defend home turf, and they take home the bell. It goes back into the gymnasium, where it will stay for at least one more year. And we'll see after that. Thanks to our great crew up here in the booth, Meg on the sideline and her camera assistants there as well. Great shots all night long. We were on every single one of them, and the work in the truck was fantastic. Ellis, great working with you again.
Always, my friend.
We'll
I love it.
Later in the season, one more time. Gateway 23, PT 6. This is the Xfinity High School Football Game of the Week.